What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 24 League Racing, and we are here for round number 8 of Season 4 of the Streamers & Co. VRL. It is our first season on F1 24, and I've been looking forward to this race, I can't lie. It's going to be a sprint weekend, which means we're going to do one 12-lap race to begin, and then we're going to be doing a 36-lap race after that. 2 short qualifying sessions for both as well, and we're going to be getting straight into those. Last time out, we were at the Belgian Grand Prix, and I had a pretty good time, nailed the strategy, and that enabled me to take a P6. I'm going to be hoping to see if I can do something similar here today. I think that is the pace I have around a track like Brazil. That said though, this is my first time doing any kind of competitive running around Brazil on this year's game, because I've not done it in a league race yet, and I've not done it in career mode yet either. So we are a little bit inexperienced around this track, certainly. So we're going to see how we go. Our first flying lap, it was in intermediate conditions, but it was a 1:18.8 and was off the pace that people were setting at this point as well. Lots of people doing sort of 1:16s, 15s, stuff like that, really just quite dramatically off the pace. So I went around again on my second flying lap. The track was starting to dry up a little bit, but also just generally I feel like I had a bit more pace on this lap. Felt like I actually got the corners hooked up nicely, and so as we come around the final sequence of corners, I'm going to be up by over 2.5 seconds now at this point. So this should be hopefully into the 1:16s, maybe the 1:15s possibly. As we cross the line, it is a 1:16.005, very close to the 1:15s. It was initially good enough to put myself in P3, but now as other cars are crossing the line, I'm being knocked down the order a little bit, and at the end of it all, it's P6. So actually a very, very respectable qualifying performance there from myself, and hopefully we can take that forward to score some points in the sprint race. But you know, we're gonna have to see what we can do. 12 laps around there, and there were many people on quali bans here today, including the likes of Carl and Mike that you can see there, and also Barmy and Ryan, who I do believe probably have slightly faster pace than me around a circuit like this. So we'll see whether 12 laps is enough for them to come and get involved in the fight with me, or whether they're going to be down the order and struggling to break their way through the field as we come down onto the grid for the sprint race. The strategy around here, I was not 100% sure, to be honest, because I had a perception that the softs actually would have lasted long enough around here. I was told that the softs can actually do about 20 laps around here before you get a puncture. That you will see is actually not necessarily the case, but we've gone on to the softs and we're going to try and get to the end. 12 laps on these soft compound tyres. We'll see what we can do as the lights come on and the lights go out, and we'll see whether we can get away nicely here compared to the likes of Phil and Bjarni ahead. Bjarni is on the medium compound tyres. There's quite a few people on the medium compound tyres actually, but some on the softs as well. So it's going to be interesting to see whether I can compete with these guys or not as we try and send it around the outside of... I was thinking of both Phil and Bjarni there, but ultimately my greed has ended up causing me to have to settle back into P6 for the time being. But Phil goes a bit deep into the end of the straight, and that is going to allow me to sneak my way up the inside past Phil and up into P5. And now we're going to be searching for Bjarni in front if we can on those soft compound tyres. We need to make these work at the start of the race because they're going to go off quite dramatically towards the end of the race, you would imagine. You know, the soft compound tyres, they are the optimal tyre for about 4 or 5 laps around here, and then the mediums become faster. They kind of reach that crossover point. So when we get to that point, we need to be prepared for maybe some people to start coming back at us during the second half of the race. So really I need to make as much progress as I can. You saw I got ahead of Bjarni there as well, but Alex, Mare and the Aston Martin, which I believe might be Ryan McLean actually, all doing very well at the moment. Up in the top 3, and yes, it is indeed McLean who set the fastest lap as Bjarni gets back ahead of me. I think Phil was thinking about it as we make a tiny bit of contact with Bjarni's rear wing, just slightly misjudged the braking zone. All's fair, and we're going to see if we can maybe get back at Bjarni now. The DRS of course has been enabled, but for some reason Bjarni had DRS too, which I'm not 100% sure why, because the gap in front is definitely over a second, but maybe it extended beyond a second after we went through the detection point or something like that. So we're going to speed things up a little bit here while we go through the middle sectors of the track. Very difficult to overtake around here unless you are quite significantly faster than the car in front of you. You're going to have to try and go for a bit of an optimistic move into one of the braking zones, a little bit like I did on lap 1, to be fair to Bjarni, but that's kind of I'm on soft tyres, you're on medium tyres, and it's lap 1 exclusive move. As Phil makes the double overtake down into turn 1 on lap number 3, Bjarni tries to cover me off there a little bit, slightly misjudges it, tiny bit of contact, and that's going to hold me up a little bit, but Phil has made his way past both Alpines there and up into P4. Bjarni now in P5. I imagine he will come back at Phil later on in the race when the medium tyres become the superior compound to be on. But for the time being, you can see the run I'm having on Bjarni here. Thought about going for a look around the outside, decided I didn't want a Trulli Suttil incident there, and we've opted to stay behind him for the time being. Moving on now to the end of lap number 4, you can see that Lewis, who had an uncharacteristically poor qualifying by his standards actually, is now trying to carve his way back through the field, and he's up into P6 now ahead of me. I never really thought that the battle with him was really on, and now as we make our way onto lap 5, you may just start to see a few signs exemplifying the fact that my soft tyres are maybe not the tyre to be on here, because Reg, I think, is going to be closing me down now. It seems like the cars in front, especially Bjarni and Lewis, maybe not so much Phil because he's also on those soft compound tyres, of course. We thought about looking for an optimistic move up the inside of Lewis on the grass, but ultimately no room in the inn for that one. And I think Reg maybe made some contact with my rear wing there because we had a massive snap of oversteer. Didn't seem to be of my own volition from what I could tell. At least it came very largely out of the blue, and that has taken me right off the back of Lewis now. So I think we're going to be very susceptible to Reg here, which, you know, I do get a little bit annoyed about stuff like that because you can't really report somebody for slightly tapping you and causing you to just have a little bit of an oversteer moment. But it certainly was incredibly frustrating, and it's something that, I don't know, I personally am not a huge fan of kind of slightly ruining someone's run to hold them up so you can overtake them in the next DRS zone, which is exactly what Reg is trying to do here. He's also trying to shove me off the track now as well, and does so, which again I'm not a huge fan of because now I'm losing a position to Ryan Harris here as well. I'm going to try and hold on to this one if I can with the DRS zone as well. But yeah, I almost lost 2 positions there because of Reg just brazenly shoving me out the way and deciding that because he was alongside me at the apex of the corner, I was no longer entitled to racing room and had to spontaneously evaporate in order to allow him to take the racing line that he wanted to take through the corner. So Harris eventually does get past me with the DRS, of course, and the soft compound tyres really just weren't working for me at this point. You also might be able to see, if you look at my fuel mix at this point as well, we are dangerously close to running out of fuel as well, and I was trying to offset this by doing a little bit of lift and coast as well. I'm really not good at gauging these fuel loads in the sprint races. I feel like unfortunately I just kind of go a bit too low on them. I think if I'd have gone about double what I'd gone with over the thing, like plus, I think I went plus 0.2. If I'd gone plus 0.4 instead, it would have been a different story. But you can see I'm just losing position on position at the moment. Harris has got past me, Barmy's got past me, and now Ollie making the overtake as well. Looks like it's going to be P11 here at best. The good news is I think everybody else behind me is on soft compound tyres. So yeah, Simple Mike not really in danger of catching me up here, and we should hopefully just be able to hold on to this P11. Maybe stay with Ollie. You know, he's not the most practiced around this circuit by his own declaration, so maybe I'll have the pace to contend with him here. Looks like we're pretty close on this occasion with the DRS as well, burning a tiny bit of battery to get with him. And as we get to the end of the DRS zone, we will be firmly ahead of Ollie Matthews and up into P10. So if this were a race proper, we'd currently be running in the points, but it's not, so we aren't. However, Ryan Harris does have a 3-second penalty in front, and that means that if we can stay within this 3-second range, which we are, you know, sort of approaching right now, and with him, Barmy and Reg all battling with one another, that could potentially, you know, do well for me. However, Ollie Matthews perhaps doesn't really have a perception of this fact that both me and him, if we work together here, could potentially gain a position. He's just decided to fight out every position that he wants on track. Which I know the argument that you would make for that is obviously, well, it would only promote whoever's in front up into P9. However, we don't know who else might have penalties in front. I believe Ryan McLean actually had a 5-second, well, not 5-second, but 3-second penalty as well. And of course, post-race penalties can always be a thing as well that can come into play. So, yeah, it does immensely frustrate me when people don't really think about this kind of thing. But Ollie Matthews currently running in front of me, and he has a big snap through turn 1 and then uses his car to physically block me from overtaking me. Also ruins my run through the center S's as well. So that is going to prevent me from being able to overtake him down into the DRS zone as well. Which, you know, is fine. People are entitled to make mistakes, of course. What I didn't then like was in the league chat afterwards, Ollie Matthews said, "Oh, that was a great battle between the two of us." I will be perfectly honest, I just replied, "No, it wasn't." Because it wasn't. Because I think if you use your car to physically block somebody and ruin their run to prevent them from overtaking you when you've made a mistake, that is not good racing. I don't think that's a controversial opinion, but maybe it is. Who knows? Either way, we weren't going to score points here today because I can reveal to you that there weren't any post-race penalties that affected my finishing position in the sprint here today. And not only that, but because of Ollie's perhaps lack of awareness that Harris was carrying that 3-second penalty, he decided to ruin both of our races and prevent us from making that move up into what would have been P9 had we been able to do that. So yeah, it didn't really matter at the end of the day because, like I said, it would have only been P9 even with post-race penalties taken into account. But it will be P11 for me at the end of the sprint. Just really messed it up with the strategy. The soft compound tyres, not the one, should have been on the mediums, and yeah, I was made to pay the price for that, unfortunately. So hopefully we will be able to do a little bit better, try and avoid the softs if we can in the feature race. And this is your final finishing order. It is Alex from Mare, very close between the two of those. Lewis managed to recover his way into P3, Bjarni P4, Reg in P5. It was Phil on the soft compound tyres holding on to P6. Then Barmy and Ryan McLean in the finishing positions in the points, Harris in P9, Ollie in P10, myself P11, and then Mike, Jermaine, RC, Simple, and Carl were the final finishers there. But of course, as I'm sure you know, we do have an entire other racing section to get along with. We've got qualifying and the race yet to come, so let's get into the qualifying for the main race now. And it is going to be dry this time, which is nice to see. It was, of course, a wet to dry situation in qualifying last time, where it was kind of last man out is going to be the one who gets the best time there. And you know, we ended up going P6 as a result of that. Whether we can do that again here, I'm not sure, because of course the quali bans have been served now, which means that Ryan Harris and Barmy, and also Carl and Mike, to be fair to them, I do perceive myself as maybe having a tiny bit more pace than those two, but Harris and Barmy in particular are the two that I am sort of looking out for a little bit. My first run here again wasn't fantastic, 1:08.8. Certainly felt like I had a bit more time in that, and so I was pretty happy when I came around on my second flying lap and we were 8/10 up. I'm hoping that this will help us put the cat amongst the pigeons a little bit here and hopefully be able to get ourselves into maybe sort of that top 7 or thereabouts. And we go P6, so I'm quite happy with that. 4/10 off of Bjarni in front, but I do feel that if I'm 4/10 behind him, that's just because he hasn't set a representative lap time yet. And we will see what we can do now on our final flying lap here. We're actually down on our best time at the moment, only by a few hundredths of a second, so it's not the end of the world. Currently running in P7, and as we round the final corner, unfortunately I don't get quite a good enough run to be able to improve here. This is going to be very, very similar to my best run. We actually were a bit late activating the DRS there. That's going to cost us slightly as well. So it's going to be about 500ths of a second slower, very similar times between my second and third run there, but ultimately won't be any improvement. And that is going to be, in the end, P7. Nobody else improved beyond me, at least, so that was good to see. And that means that we will be able to start in 7th place for the feature race as well. And I'm a bit more optimistic about my chance of scoring points here. You know, there'll be some incidents and stuff like that as well, I am sure. There's your full qualifying order. I believe it was Alex P1, Lewis P2, Mare P3, Bjarni P4, Phil P5, then McLean, myself, Reg, Harris, and Ollie rounding out the top 10, with Barmy choosing not to do a qualifying lap. He wasn't banned this time, and I believe he was aware of that. He just enjoys doing last to first challenges in this league, I guess, which, you know, fair enough, I suppose, if you don't have much of a stake in the championship fight when you are just a reserve driver. So I kind of see it from his perspective. And yeah, the strategy we're going to be doing here is going to be a medium hard, I have decided. But I'm going to be boxing a little earlier than it's suggesting. I think we're going to box around lap 14, 15, something like that. We'll see what we can do with that as the timer is sorted. We have reduced our fuel a little bit as well, which hopefully will make us a bit faster at the start as well, as the lights come on. And the lights go out after what felt like an eternity, and we've had a very good getaway here compared to Ryan McLean, and I think we're going to be able to get up into P6 by the looks of things here. We break behind Phil, and unfortunately Ryan McLean just had a bit more room in front of him to go for a move there. However, we have got a much superior run than him through the centre S's, but in the next phase through the centre S's he was able to get things sorted there, unfortunately. So it is going to be myself actually falling down into P8, Ryan Harris making the move on myself, now looking for the move on Phil as well. And we're going to see if we can get ourselves through here and up into... okay, Phil decided to brake very early for the corner there. Not sure what's going on with that, but yeah, Phil making his way through that corner very, very slowly, braking much earlier than he needed to. It won't surprise you to learn he was actually shouting at his dog on the stream at the time and wasn't really paying attention to the road, which, you know, irritated me, but that's life. That happens to some people. They have to sort things out in their personal lives, so I'm not too frustrated about that. It just was unfortunate timing because we made a bit of contact with his rear wing. Didn't get any damage though, so I don't know why I'm harping on about this quite as much as I am. And we're going to see if we can stay with this fight in front, try and break away from the cars behind the likes of Simple, Ollie Matthews. Bjarni actually opting to start on the hard compound tyres here. I don't know if that was the right decision from Bjarni Olsen, but we will see what kind of pace he can show on those hards compared to people on the mediums. I think you know, I have a lot of confidence on these mediums that I should be able to make my way through the field a little bit later, and you can see we're going to try and go for the move on Bjarni up the inside with the DRS, but ultimately there just isn't room for that as we make our way through the next sector. And you can see Harris had a bit of an oversteer moment there going through the corner. I had to brake a little bit to get out of it, and what you didn't see there was Simple behind me going into the back of me, and I think maybe spinning out as well, possibly, as we looked for a move on Bjarni. Reg goes into the back of Bjarni. So much chaos going on here, but hopefully, Simple, if you are watching this, you will see that quite clearly it wasn't my fault there. I didn't decide to brake check you as you suggested I might have done. I was simply trying to avoid a collision in front, and successfully doing so, I might add. It was just, unfortunately, it created a bit of a concertina effect there. We did eventually get ahead of Bjarni and Ollie as well, and we are now up into P7 here. Simple, unfortunately, with the damage that he got and with everything else that's happened, he is now running a lap down. So, yeah, that's not the position that he would have ideally wanted to be in. And for those of you who do race in the league, we have slightly amended the rule. We haven't changed the rules to necessarily reflect this, but you won't anymore be punished if you decide to retire from the race when you are already a lap down, especially if there is a safety car coming out, because that basically is going to entirely ruin your race. So yeah, just so people are aware of that now. Barmy eventually did overtake me on those soft compound tyres, but he boxed on lap number 9 to get himself onto, I assume, a set of hards to go to the end, maybe, or something like that. I don't believe that he would be doing a 2-stop. That doesn't feel like the right strategy to be on here, unless he's really trying to show off. But yeah, we have made our way back into P7 as a result of that, and we're kind of in a bit of a no man's land at the moment, to be honest with you. We're just kind of you know, not really close enough to the back of Phil to really make a go of things here, and Bjarni still 2.8 seconds down on us. Maybe the hards now are going to start becoming a little bit faster than the medium compound tyres. We're not too far away from the pit lap, but yeah, I think that Bjarni probably won't catch me before I come into the pit lane if I had to guess what's going to be happening with that. But yeah, at the moment, just kind of sitting in a bit of a no man's land here, and that continued onto lap 13 as well, where you can see that the gap in front, while there was a 3-second penalty for Phil, as he is actually coming into the pit lane here, and we had to be very quick to react to that. And yeah, I wanted to make sure I covered that off. I didn't want him to break away too much, and actually, if we can have a good pit stop here, we could potentially even catch up with him a little bit. I think maybe he was following McLean, who was also coming into the pit lane there. He kind of saw McLean doing that, came in. I saw Phil coming in and decided to do that as well. And you can see we were dead close with him there. He actually almost ghosted for me there, and maybe would have been held up for a second there. So yeah, we're going to see if we can close him down now as we come onto the pit exit. He's being a little bit slow through here, actually, which I hope means that I might be able to get ahead of him here. However, I make a fatal error here, and I actually cross over the white line ever so slightly. We were very close to being alright with that, but I just went a little bit too close to the white line. And we're going to see if we can go for the same move we went off with Phil before, but no, I got a bit too much onto the curb that time and almost took us both out of the race. So just be thankful that I didn't end the race for both of us. But we are now going to be on these hard compound tyres to the end of the race, barring any safety cars or anything like that. And we will see how the race unfolds. However, Phil did eventually break away. He's now battling away with Harris over that P7. And there is a yellow flag behind, as simple as out of the session, and that is going to be a safety car. He had an issue, his wheel disconnected on the straight and he ploughed into the wall in front at high speed. So yeah, that is going to be the end of the race for Simple, and it is going to bring out the safety car, which is going to change the strategy here a little bit. Now, what you are seeing on my MFD here is me changing to used medium tyres. I had this perception that I had a set of medium tyres that I had done one lap on in sprint qualifying. I am now wondering if after the sprint those tyres were returned, because when I tried to go onto another set of medium tyres, as you will see here, as I also give myself front wing damage for no reason, and also can't fix it because by the time I'm aware of that it's too late to change that, so they're not going to fix my front wing either, which is fantastic. You will see when I come into the pit lane here and I go onto these medium compound tyres, these medium tyres are actually the tyres I just boxed off of 6 laps ago. As you can see there, 38% worn on the rear right. So yeah, this is an unmitigated disaster. Now, I want you to ask yourself what you would do in this situation. Obviously, the correct answer is to box again, fix the front wing. You know, you've already got to box again to change these tyres anyway, that's a no-brainer. Fix the front wing, come in and put on a different set of tyres. But I want you to answer the question, what tyres would you put on? Because I decided to go for a set of qualifying tyres on the soft compound. Now, for the love of God, I don't understand why I did this. Because I knew that in 12 laps, the soft compound tyres were absolutely horrible in the sprint. You know, they were getting to about 50% worn in 12 laps. Now, obviously, we've got less fuel on board, so things are going to be a little bit different here compared to if I was running a full tank of fuel, like 15-lap soft compound tyres. However, they still aren't going to be great, and I've got to take these all the way to the end of the race, barring any other safety car now. So I don't know how to describe it, other than this is probably the biggest strategic blunder I've made all season. And, of course, this is a season where I was really struggling a while ago to get myself up to pace with the rest of the cars, and also struggling with the strategies a little bit. I've kind of got all of that nailed down now, but changing onto the soft compound tyres here, I really don't understand why I did this. We are going to be very fast at the start here, and I'm going to use that to good effect to get ahead of Mike as quickly as I possibly can, and hopefully we'll be able to clear Jermaine nice and quickly, because as I'm sure that you all know if you've been watching these videos every week, now I have a real difficult time overtaking Jermaine a lot of the time. So yeah, I was quite happy when I was able to just dispatch him with ease on these soft compound tyres, but you know, you have to keep in mind, these tyres, they are going to go off, and they're going to go off really quickly because these are used soft compound tyres. I've already used them for a qualifying run earlier on, and yeah, Carl Nelson holding us up quite a lot, making sure that his teammate can build a big buffer before I try and overtake him as well, which you know, was frustrating me a little bit. It's really annoying when you get caught behind slower cars that you know that you can get past, but you're just in a position where you can't overtake, because now I'm already over a second down on Ollie in front. Carl Nelson does eventually go deep into this corner though, and that is going to allow me to make my way past him with relative ease, braking at the right time and sneaking my way up the inside. So we're going to see if we can close down on the cars in front now. But yeah, this was so stupid from me, and I really don't really know what I was thinking when I decided to do this. The thing you have to remember is that you know, I had front wing damage. I was very flustered going onto these medium compound tyres as well, and you have to make a very quick decision here. I had about 1 minute to decide exactly what I was going to do, what tyres I was going to go onto, whether I was going to box again at all. Maybe I was just going to try and ride it out on the mediums to the end of the race, because I think they might have been able to make it. But yeah, this is something that you have to remember when you factor in all this stuff, is that you know, I had a very short amount of time to make the call. I made the wrong call on this day, which, you know, I say I made the wrong call on this day, but actually at the moment I am running in P9, And even if RC gets back ahead of me here, I'll still be running in the points in P10. Ollie with that 3-second penalty in front as well. So if these tyres can actually hold up okay, we should be alright. And RC's hit us. He's spun us around, and that's going to cost us a lot of time to the cars behind, and probably bring his teammate back into play as well. And maybe the other cars behind as well. Not 100% sure, but that has cost us about 3 seconds, which ultimately that's going to put us out of the penalty range of the likes of Phil and Ollie in front, which isn't great. And now I'm just going to get out of Jermaine's way. No doubt in my mind, I'm on much worse tyres than he's on at this stage. So yeah, realistically, the correct strategy here, and Jermaine actually said as much in the league chat afterwards. And he was like, "Why did you go onto the softs?" And I explained the situation, and he was like, "Why didn't you just go back onto the hards that you were on from lap 13?" And I actually thought about that, and I was like, I think that would have probably been the correct strategy to do here today. So I was a bit frustrated. I probably should have just stayed out on the hards to begin with. But again, you have to make a split-second decision in those moments about what you're going to do. And today I just chose wrongly. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I think we're not going to be scoring points here by the looks of things, unless there is another DNF in front, or maybe a penalty coming the way of someone like Jermaine or Mike. Because there's no doubt in my mind Mike is going to be able to get ahead of me here. I've got basically no pace at the moment, and right now my priority, as you can see, is very much not going to be staying ahead of Mike. I've got no interest in this. The only thing I was interested in is that my understanding was at this moment that the fastest lap was currently held by Mare in the VCARB. Now VCARB are pretty close to us in the constructors standings, so my idea was, once Mike gets ahead of me, I'm going to box. I'm going to go onto a set of soft compound tyres, and I'm going to try and do a Hail Mary lap to try and nick that fastest lap from Mare if I possibly can, to try and get myself into a position where I can hopefully take a point away from VCARB to help our constructors fight here. I don't really think that we have much chance of winning the Constructors' Championship, because Lewis and Harris, who are both the Williams drivers, are currently 1 and 2 in the Drivers' Championship, and after this there will only be 4 more races to try and overturn them. But as we come into the pit lane for, will this be the 4th time this weekend? We're going to be going onto a set of soft compound tyres. We're going to be able to give them 1 lap to bed in, and then we're going to go balls to the wall 1 lap to try and grab that fastest lap. If we can, nick it away for the constructors fight and see what we can do. I reckon probably when people saw me coming into the pits at this stage, they thought maybe I was just going to retire from the race. But no, no reason to do that. Definitely still something to play for, even if it is just taking fastest lap away from your rivals. That is definitely still a reason to go for it. Ryan McLean, I thought, was coming into the pits to do exactly the same thing, but he actually was just coming into the pits to retire from the race. And so, yeah, that is going to be the end of it as far as things are concerned for DNFs and position changes and all this kind of thing. And we are just going to see what we can do on this final lap to deliver our best qualifying pace lap. Going to be sticking it in hot lap ERS mode here and seeing what I can do. There is a yellow flag in front for Ryan McLean. We're going to speed through a little bit, and it is Mare that is going to end up walking away with the victory here today. We are now coming into the final corner before the final sector, and we are 2 greens, but crucially these aren't purples, which is making me worry that we're not quite fast enough to set the fastest lap here today. It's still a 1:08.9, so we'll see whether this lap time is going to be good enough to steal away the fastest lap here as we come on the run to the flag, tight to the pit wall. It's a 1:09.2, and ultimately I just didn't have the pace here today to be able to set that fastest lap time. So yeah, ultimately didn't really make a difference, but I don't think I would have finished any higher than P11 even if I hadn't boxed, so I don't regret at least trying. Driver of the day goes to Barmy for doing I believe a last to second, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see in a second what the podium is going to look like, and it is going to be Mare on top, the Swede, with Barmy in P2, and Lewis shows as being in P3. He actually was given a 5-second post-race penalty for pushing Alex off track, which ultimately cost Alex not only a spot on the podium, but potentially the win as well, which he was fighting for up until that point. So yeah, in the end, it is going to be Alex who will be inheriting P3 as a result of that post-race penalty, and Lewis will be knocked down into P4. As for the rest of the order, we will have a look in just a moment. This is the overall points scored. You can see it was a pointless weekend for me with back-to-back P11s. Bjarni ended up coming home in P5. Then it was Harris, Phil, Ollie, Jermaine and Mike completing the point scoring positions, and then myself, Carl and RC the final of the finishers, with actually McLean classified as well, and then Reg and Simple the last two. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.